thank you so much. I hope that you have a very great day in this open day. Thank you so much. Assalamualaikum.
Thank you, Dr. Zalida, for setting the stage of today's event as energetic as always. Now we have a special treat in store for you. We have here with us Mr. Bjorn Kurz, the CEO of Stop Lab BV. Mr. Bjorn Kurz, thank you for joining us. Please share your valuable understandings with us and let us know what kind of services NDL is going to provide.
Do I need a microphone or is it okay? Yes, it's okay.
No need.
Okay, right. Yes. Thank you for coming to our open day. In June, I was here digitally. Now I'm really happy to be here. You can do the next slide because we came from the Netherlands, where, as you know, we have windmills and tulips. We also have wooden shoes, and we also have medical services, and that's what we're going to talk about today. So we live in the Netherlands, but we mainly work in Germany and Switzerland, a little bit in the Netherlands, where we do all kinds of blended care services that Salisa already mentioned, which means we provide measurements and treatments in the clinic, but we also extend it into the patient's home. So the next slide. This is our locations and a few of our licensees. Some locations are run by us, some by others, but they use our services. And that means for the first time at several locations, everybody is going through the same treatments, the same procedures, the same diagnostic procedures. And we're now getting the data. And for the first time, using all kinds of analytic methods, we can predict if people are compliant with our treatments and what the outcomes will be. This is quite innovative because we work in a very old-fashioned field, which is rehabilitation. It's not high-end intensive care. It's when people have mental problems, neurological problems, and they go home and they need treatment. That's where we come in. Next slide. So we collaborated with the university or through Professor Wahl. We met in 2009. And then we collaborated for a few years, and now we got back in touch because we had software problems and we had to solve it of our devices. And then some reason or another, it led to the Neurofeedback Digital Lab. We wanted to have something here where we implement or where we combine the knowledge from the university and the team with our clinical knowledge. And I'm going to tell you what we do. So today we focus on the blended care aspect of implementing brain knowledge into the mental health care domain. So we will talk about brain physiology, and Dr. Salisa will do a demonstration later on. And if you have time today, after the demos, you have to speak to us about it. We come back. No, you're too fast. And we combine the physiology of the brain with the function of the brain. So if we see, for example, very slow brain waves, does that mean that you're also slower in your cognitive functioning? Do you have problems with double counts or memory problems? We can also show you later today how we do this. So we combine brain physiology with function. And then, of course, it's the most important part of behavioral problems or mental health problems. So we quantify the problems you have and always measure quality of life before and after our treatments. Next slide. And today we start talking about and do the demo with measuring the brain, but also using the brain for neurofeedback procedures. We have doing this for a very long time, since 2005. In the Netherlands, you have a database of more than 100,000 patients and measurements, where we have a lot of insights in can you change your brain activity? And we can say yes up to a certain point. And how does it relate to improvements in mental health problems? And the next slide. And the building blocks here of the Neurofeedback Digital Lab are really the brain measurements, brain physiology, brain function, and not only having this as a means to do diagnostic procedures, but to assist other therapists and psychologists and physicians in the decision-making process, but also offer the same techniques live to clients while they can see what's happening in their brain. And if you can look at your brain, what it's doing, you can influence it a little bit here or at home in a blended care approach, as Dr. Salisa said, and that's what we call neurofeedback. And the three building blocks of what we do in Europe, of anything we do in a clinic, but also a patient's home, are always training or therapy, coaching, and monitoring. So we have to monitor how people are doing at home. First of all, to increase compliance so that they're doing what they're doing. And second of all, to measure the effects in order to change treatments or on a group level to see what treatments are good for some patients and what aren't. So these building blocks in any program we develop, because we have several others, which I will talk about later on, always the big building blocks. And here at NDL, we want to offer the services for clients, but we also want to offer courses for people who want to do it in their clinic or in their practice. Next slide. So what is neurofeedback? I do it very fast. I can't talk as fast as Dr. Zalita, but I try to. No, but we're going to do the demo later, so you can just a very summary of neurofeedback is the next slide. So it's a method where you look at the physiology of your brain. It's nothing mysterious. We have no idea how the brain functions, but we do know that if the brain is processing information faster or slower, that it has effects on your attention, your alertness, your information process. And if you look at a constant state of your brain, you can influence it if we couple good, positive and negative reinforcement. So we work primarily with positive reinforcement. That means at any instant, at any moment, when your brain is in a state that we want, we get positive feedback in the form of an animation that does something, or something happens in an animation. So it's a real life visualization of the physiology of your brain. It's nothing else. And then we hope to improve your alertness and your sleep. There are a lot of publications stating what you can do with neurofeedback, but the basis is always the level of arousal in your nervous system. How active is your nervous system? Can we visualize it? Can we feed back to you? And can you influence it? So that's neurofeedback, feedback of your neural state of your brain. So it's nothing specific, it's very general. We can't do any specific things. We can only train very specific ground state of your brain. The next one. Who can benefit from it? You have the evidence, the evidence from papers, you have the evidence from clinical expertise. It all started in the 1960s and 70s with adults and many children with concentration problems. There are two main problems, but the main problem you can tackle is attention. So you can improve attention by influencing the brain state. And there is some indication that you also improve sleep through neurofeedback, which in turn improves all kinds of other problems. So we go from concentration problems and stress towards depression and anxiety. The first one is not purely clinical. There are also other people with some stress, a little bit of attention problems, not typically ADHD, doesn't need a diagnosis per se, but then you go into the depression anxiety domain, then you are in the clinical domain where you really need very good EEG assessment, all kinds of diagnostic procedures. And then, of course, is also where we are in Europe are working a lot is with stroke and Parkinson's disease, so with neurological diseases, where you can't solve the disease with neurofeedback, but you can train alertness and attention as one part of the whole patient journey. So neurofeedback is typically one part of, as I say, a whole treatment program where you provide, it's like a training of your body if you're a soccer player to become active, to have a good heart-lung performance. That's what neurofeedback does in the mental health domain. So you get a little bit better brain performance, which you then can use to improve at other therapies. There are also some indications and evidence that neurofeedback in combination with other treatments gives a much better effect than neurofeedback or the other treatments alone. This is the next slide. So future services, my final slide, yes, is we not only do the neurofeedback, but we already developed a stroke coach, which is not just neurofeedback, but it's really a procedure to an evidence-based rehab program for patients at home after stroke, where the clinician or the therapist is trained by us in order to train patients at home. And we are doing the same in different domains. We are now certified in Germany for aging coach, so for elderly people to improve their health. And if the therapists have done the course with us and use our procedure, then 80% of all the costs of the program to get fit after your 70th or 80th birthday is covered by insurance companies. So we finally in Europe, we're going from the clinical domain to the preventive domain, which was unheard of a few years ago, but now it's going into that direction. So with that, I want to leave the stage also for the demo later on with Dr. Salisa, and we are here all day, actually all week, and happy to answer any question you have relating to EEG neurofeedback or what we're going to do here at the Neurofeedback Digital Lab. For now, thank you for your attention and your great activity.
Thank you so very much, Mr. Bjorn. Now, pricing is an important aspect to consider if you are willing to participate or join us in NDL workshops or NDL works. So we have here with us Dr. Mona Azuddin to brief us on the pricings, plans, offers, or anything else. So Dr. Mona, please share this stage.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. All right, so I'll be explaining about the service package that we currently have at NDL. So anyone already have this pamphlet? Yeah, okay, all right. Okay, so if you want to have a closer look, okay, you can refer to this pamphlet, okay? So currently, okay, NDL we offer two main service package. Okay, so the first one would be the EEG and alertness. All right, and the second one would be the brain training. So for the EEG and alertness is where you want to measure your brain activity. Okay, and under this service package, okay, where you can measure your brain and also we provide with a report. Okay, so the price would be 120. Okay, so it's a complete set. Okay, you do the measurement and you get a report. All right. And the second service package is the brain training. So this is where the neurofeedback, okay, neurofeedback therapy. So we have three services here. Okay, we have NFB one session. So the price is 20 ringgit. Okay, so it is affordable, I would say. And the second one is we have 1 month service for 10 sessions. Okay, and the third one would be we have NFB for 3 months where we have 30 sessions with 3 reports. So you have, you know, 3 reports, okay, including for this 3 months service. Okay, so it is affordable where you can get a report. All right, but okay, I will say, all right, if you want to see an improvement, okay, for your brain activity, it requires minimum of 10 sessions. Okay, so you must have 10 sessions minimum, and then okay, we're going to provide you with a report where you need to pay another 60 ringgit. All right. So any question that you want to ask? Yes.
So for each of the session, how long the MFG will be?
It's around 20 to 30 minutes, right?
Okay.
So it depends on the brain, not brain, but then commonly it should be like 20 to 30 minutes. Okay. But first, okay, it is recommended for you to do the EEG alertness, okay, the measurement first, because we want to see your your brain function first. And then we will going to give you consultation for you to go for the brain training. All right. Okay. Any other question? No?
May I ask, for the pulses that you pass into the brain, what sort of pulses that? Is it electromagnetic waves, or is it ultrasound, or is it X-ray, or is it from the nuclear, something like nuclear scan?
We have Mr. Dian here.
So did you, was your question?
Yeah.
We don't put anything into the brain. I mean, there are treatments that do like TMS, transcranial stimulation, and direct current stimulation. What we do is we measure. So we measure how the brain is doing, and your brain is always on, even if you sleep, and we show you what the brain is doing. So it's a passive, it's a purely passive treatment or passive training. And all the devices have been certified for medical applications. So they're also safe from a technical perspective. So it's like a blood pressure measurement. If we could do it continuously, and we would show you the blood pressure, or ECG, for example, we show you the heartbeat or the ECG signal. That's the same thing we do, just with the brain. So it's passive measurement.
But if it is a passive measurement, then how can you do the treatment?
Yeah, so it's a training method based on positive conditioning. It's not very different from, for example, how I learned to shoot a penalty. So in Europe, they have a lot of soccer, of course. Liverpool, Ajax, and Amsterdam, the club. And so, but if as a child, everybody starts to learn soccer. First time I just shoot a ball at a goal, I just shoot it somewhere. And then the second time I shoot, for example, the ball goes a little bit further towards the goal. I think, oh, it's better. I didn't know what I did. I have no idea, but I did something and the ball went further to the goal. So I get positive reinforcement. And the more I do it, the more positive reinforcement I get when the ball goes further towards the goal, more in the center. That's the same thing that happens to the brain. So with positive reinforcement, if a brain state appears just by biological variation, goes up and down, like your heartbeat will also up and down. If your brain goes up and down at a certain state, which we want, we give you positive feedback, positive reinforcement. And that in form of an animation, which we can show to you later. And at that moment, if you do it often enough, that's why we need 10, 20, sometimes 40 seconds if there are severe problems. Then we see that the brain state goes into that direction more often. So it's actually more a statistical procedure that brings more often in a desired state than not. Does that answer your question? Okay. Yes, I need to see it there. Yeah.
All right. So I think that's all. So thank you. Okay.
Now get ready for an exciting demonstration of EEG assessment. It is a chance for us to see firsthand how neurotechnology helps assess brain activity and can contribute to mental well-being. Sister Ain is trained in EEG assessment and she will show us how this EEG assessment works under Dr. Zalida's supervision, obviously. So,
Okay. Okay.
all right.
Thank you so much, staffmate, again, for being us here. All right, so this is our EEG assistant that has been trained to do this EEG assessment and also neurofeedback. Okay, so we have here Brother Muhammad. Maybe you can go up. So, this one is our subject today. Okay, thank you, Brother Muhammad, okay, for having for joining us today. You can have some seat. All right, so for your information, we have two devices here, which are the first one is the brain marker. Which one is the brain marker? This one is the brain marker. This one is the EEG machine that we are using for the EEG assessment together with the neurofeedback. So we have also the other, this machine is actually for the EEG assessment and also neurofeedback. And we have other one which is the neurostigma. It is also for the neurofeedback. But the difference between this one and this one we are using for frontal lobe only. Okay, we know that frontal lobe is the main function of our brain. Frontal lobe is having problems, so maybe you have problem as well. So if you wanted to know if you have problems with the brain or not, you have to come to NDL and check your brain first. Do you want to have that one? The one? Okay. So this one is the integration with 19 channel. What I'm talking about the channel is the brain position of the brain, which is like for example, we have the frontal, we have the temporal, we have the occipital at the back, and also we have the few places of the brain. So here we are focusing on 19 channel together with the reference and ground, which is 21 electrodes that we are going to use. So this one is the can you help to pass some of them? Okay, this one is the electrode that we are using to attach to the scalp. Okay, so before we attach this one to the scalp, so I will put this one on the brain marker EEG here. So I just attach this one to the brain marker machine, and we are going to put this electrode. So the brother person is also passing through the EEG electrode, so you can have a look on it. So you can see this one. You can attach this cap. So also you can show them the cap with them. Okay. So we have the cap here. For example, I put it on the ground. So I just put it here. Okay. Just plug like that. Okay. I will help me to set up on Brother Muhammad's calculator. You can do it just now. So before that, before I setting this one, so we have few things here. We have the new prep to clean the skin, the skin of the head. So we have to make sure before you come to the EEG assessment, we will remind you that you cannot use any gel, you cannot apply any gel during the EEG assessment. Also, you are being advised to wash your hair before, not before you come here, and then make sure that your hair is not applying any gel, so that easy for us to do the EEG assessment. Okay. So I is actually now trying to put the cap on the scalp on the head. So she will use this extender to make sure the cap is tight. It's tight, and the cap is put properly on the head. Okay, if you cannot see at the back, you can come outside maybe. Okay. So we can just put this one. Okay. So I will also clean. Okay, I will also clean this one. Clean Mohammed head. Okay, I will have iron done to put this one ground and also reference. Okay, and today for today's demo, I will only focus on the frontal lobe, which is I'm going to take 2 electrodes. For the frontal FP1 and also FP2, which is at the front here. Okay. So this one is the string. So it's I know it's like a very you don't afraid with this one. Okay, this one is just a plastic. Okay, so this one is a gel. So we are going to put this gel on the patient's scalp. And then I will clean the head first to make sure there is no oil or maybe any of the dandruff. Yes. To make sure that it's clean. And I will clean this one first, and after that she will put this gel into the cap. This one is now she's cleaning. So for the EEG assessment, we will use full 90 channels. Yeah, it's not only 2 channels. For the each assessment, we're going to have full 90 channels. Okay, then we can see all which part of the brain. Okay. Yeah, I should be it. Okay, good. Thank you so much. Yeah. Okay, this is good. Okay. All right. Okay. You can see that. So you can see Muhammad face now. Okay. All right. So for the assessment, we are going to use 90 channels, but for the brain marker, for the neurofeedback, okay, we are going to choose which part of the brain is having problem. Okay, it's not very problem. Maybe some abnormalities we find out in the brain activity. So, for example, you come here and then we do the EEG assessment, like Dr. Plastic just now. EEG assessment, we see the brain activity, and we come out on your temporal lobe. Okay, maybe you are too stressed or something like that. We see the bandwidth, the brain is more fast bandwidth. Okay, high base RPM. Okay, so we choose that position of that temporal lobe, which is T7 is on the left, T8 on the right. Okay, so we just choose, for example, T7 first. Okay, so we choose one T7 and then we put that electrode on the T7 and then we play with the neurofeedback. That one is the neurofeedback by using brain marker. But for this one, we are only using the frontal lobe. Okay. But as for today's demo, I will only use the brain marker to show you the neurofeedback of the neurofeedback using the brain marker. Okay. So now I is putting the gel on the page on the Mohammed hair. So okay, so this one is just putting this one. Okay, maybe you can stand by later with the software, but later.
Okay. Okay.
So during the session, of course, we have to ask the client or the participant, are you okay? Is it painful or not, or something like that. But usually it takes time, like for I, maybe I usually takes time like 15 to 30 minutes, right? 15 to 30 minutes to set up all the 30 channel. Sorry, 19 channel. 19 channel. 19 channels. Okay. Yeah. And then it depends on the impedance the quality of the signal. The quality of the signal. If the quality of signal is bad, then we have to adjust the temperature and that. So that's what we take time. But it depends on the client case, because client case is different case, right? So sometimes the case is big, then it's small, so it can fit the cap properly for the head that which is normal. We really need to adjust this on the situation. So that's why 19 channel we take time like 15 to 20 minutes to set up based on the signal quality level. Okay, so okay, now I already attached FP1 and FP2. So we know the FP1 is yellow. It's okay to proceed. But the good one is green. Yeah. But FP2 is a problem because it's red. Okay. So maybe we can just focus on one first, which is FP. FP1, is it? FP1. Okay. Can you show the so it's all signal first. Yeah, this is the signal of your brain of Muhammad brain, not your brain. Muhammad brain. Okay, this is the signal of Muhammad brain. You can choose for example, okay, this one is you can focus on the FP1 and FP2. So that's one is the Muhammad brain. So Muhammad, can you move your jaw? Yes, so you can see it's now having a change. Your eye blinking more eyes. Yeah. Can see that one. That one is eye blinking. So any action that has been made by the participant, it will affect the signals. So during the EEG assessment, we will advise to the clients or participants to make a minimal movement. Okay, right. Okay, so yes, he laughing, so we have a lot of it. Okay, maybe you can move your head. Maybe if you move your head. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so something like that. So if you okay, then okay, can you move your yeah, foot, yes. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay, this is what happened if we the client make any movement of the body. Okay. But even though because we cannot control the client operation, okay. For example, we said to them that make a minimal movement, but sometimes they are too nervous. They keep on blinking eyes like this. Okay. So we will do that for the we will see the signal, and then we will remove the noise of the signal. So we will do some analysis before we proceed with any of the report to the client. Okay, so now can you show the feedback? Okay, this one is the feedback. So now, okay, so as you can see here, so this one is the signal of the neurofeedback. So Eva, can you select which signal FP1? FP1. Okay, we have to select the signal channel first. As is in this case, I select FP1. That's how we have a yellow FP1 signal. The signal quality is good. So now we select FP1 and then we set the feedback parameter. So for example, we wanted to increase the level of theta. So increase level theta. Okay. So with the difficulty level, we can start with 20% or 50% or 80% to identify either the client can do the task or not. We can start with the lower difficulty first. Okay, maybe that's at 20. Okay, so this is one of the activities that we are going to use for the training. So maybe we can start with the bar graph. Yes, my bar graph. Okay, So you can see that the bar graph is moving, right? So this one is the difficulty level is 20%. So Mohammed, you have to okay, when I ask him to see this one, then he is moved to the highest, the maximum. So this one is only 20% difficulty level. So he is now in a very good condition. I mean, the focus is there, the attention is there, maybe it's in a good mood. Okay, so everything is okay. Can you change the difficulty to 50%?
Actually, I'm not in the good mood.
Huh?
I'm not in the good mood.
You are not in a good mood. Why?
I'm looking from Texel today, Texel.
Oh, today talking about the event. No wonder she's nervous. Okay. I'm trying to make you calm now. Okay. So even 50% is okay for Mohammed. So okay, if you try to focus on you have to look into the bar graph. So you try to increase the bar graph. So during this time, yeah, we didn't ask it to the client that, oh, you have to increase the bar graph. No, it depends. You just need to focus on the task, increase the bar graph. You can just relax and try to focus and try to increase the level of bar graph. If you can do that, it's a good job. But if you didn't do that, it's okay. Never mind. It's a process of learning, training the brain to be a normal back or maybe in a focus back. Okay. So yeah, 43. So are you okay? Are you okay? Okay. So maybe Irfan, can you show another yes animation like for a boat? Yeah, this one is 50%, right? Yeah. So Mohammed, you try to move this boat from the start to end. Yeah. Can you move it? Yeah, try to focus. This is how we train the brain to make sure that he can focus on the task. I mean, this one is not about the task. This one is about he inside. Okay, if he can go calm and also focus in the task and he can move. He can do the task well. So maybe Mohammed is thinking of this exam result. So that's why he cannot focus. But okay, this is how. Okay. So this one takes time. Maybe we can just set for 15 minutes for this training. So along the way, he is improving his grade. So maybe we can just decrease it a bit to 10 minutes, okay, something like that. But this really depends on the progress of the client. So that's why for the neurofeedback, we suggest to have 10 sessions minimum. So that's why we can have the result better instead of just less than 10. So that's why in the service that we offer, it is suggested to have 10 session minimum for all type of client. Okay. All right. So maybe you can just last one. Maybe we can show the firework. Okay. Okay, Mohammed, you can try to move these things to the front. It's like a firework, so you can move everything, meaning that you are focused. You can see the movement of the things here. So you can see that it is moving up. Okay. So maybe it takes time for Mohammed, okay? So, but this is okay. Give support to him. You can do it. It's bad. Okay, so that is how we choose the activity. I mean the activity of the training that we are choosing for the neurofeedback training. Okay, neurofeedback therapy. So as you can see, the movement of each of the activity is really depends on the client. Okay, the progress on how they react towards the task. This is what we call the training of the brain using the neurofeedback. So as we can relate it towards the difficulty level. We start with the 20% easy for him to do, and then we start difficulty, increase the difficulty to 50%, and next maybe to 80 and 100%. Until he can reach that level, maybe we can see the result later if he is improving a lot in his brain activity. Okay, so that one is on the neurofeedback and EEG. So I'm showing you just now is the brain activity signals. So EEG signals stuff. And second thing I'm showing you is the neurofeedback that we have conducting the neurofeedback. Okay, before the any of the neurofeedback session, you are actually need to do the EEG assessment first to make sure that you can see the brain activity of your brain, and we can see is there any abnormalities of the brain, so that we can advise you for the next step, which is the neurofeedback therapy. Okay. All right. That's all for the demo. I think. Do you have anything to ask? No. Yes. Just know you can read
What?
patient. Please go ahead.
I would say we train the level of activity the brain. So we just can visualize you are now underactivated or you are now high activated. But when we do awareness with patients, of course we ask what we are looking at the moment. But it's more that when you can transfer it to a strategy. So what I'm thinking, it could be a strategy for my training, and can I use it also in the daily life? But the neurofeedback is nothing about what I'm thinking, it's more about how is my level of activity in my own brain. So, but we have, of course, we have a lot of patients and they or clients that they ask, how can I move this? Or if I think in this and this, then it helps this. And it's not all the time that we can explain everything by the thoughts.
Anyway, one of the street therapist and neurocoordinator. She deals a lot with the client.
What I should do here?
So it's the best to have answer from her actually. Then any other question? Yes.
I would like to see how the data which shows or the report, so that I can gain some ideas about which is what kind of aspect does it mention. If you see that.
Yes.
I think I have it in my slides. I didn't get the question. What do you want to see?
To report what does actually it shows. This is just like a data for what happens during.
To open my presentation.
Hi.
And my presentation. So I have a few more slides. Next one.
Yeah.
It's always the three things that I talked about. So some people want to see it, some not, but what we typically do is we have a screenshot of brain activity, but only if it's really, if there's something wrong with it or something strange. So if there's a lot of slow activity, some people have, so we have form as they call it. Or some absence seizures, but that's really clinical, neurological. But we show the brain, And the physiology, we can summarize it in, not sure if I have a slide for that. Can you do the next one? So here, this is software that we used before. So you see 4 different locations from the front to the back. The white is the left side, yellow is the. So this is a patient with a stroke on the left side brain. So the whites, left side, are all, you see a lot of, even if you know nothing about EEG, do we have a pointer?
Yes, we have.
You see that the whites have big waves, right? So there's a slow activity, a big slow activity on the left-hand side. Means with this patient, we would put this in a report and say, okay, with this patient, we're gonna give a positive feedback if the slow waves disappear. So in this case, it would be. I'm waiting for pointers. It would mean that in the second while the brain get positive feedback, while you see the big waves, then we can reflect it. So this is part of the report. Thank you. Yes, so here you see these slow wave activity, typically for traumatic brain injury or stroke. So here they don't get any feedback or 0, and here, like in the example there, the fireworks will go up. Because here we have almost a disappearance of these slow waves. So this is put into the report, but this is very neurological. This is already advanced. So this we show, and then we show the summary, which is, I'm not sure if it's in the, can you do this next slide? A summary where we say, okay, this normally, for example, healthy people are in this domain, we see brain activity, but also reaction times that are here or here. For example, people with very fast brain activity due to a burnout syndrome or a heat stress syndrome or anxiety, or people with very slow brain activity after stroke or with depression or with chronic heat syndrome. And that's what we look at. So not also to relate to your question about thoughts, but no thoughts really, it's general background activity. If you're doing nothing, is your brain overactive or underactive, or is it just in the middle domain? So that's something we visualize. And the next one. Is there a next one? Yes. And then, of course, and that is the good thing about neurofeedback methods like this, is because the treatment is actually a measurement that you visualize on the patient. So every treatment, every training is being stored as data. So we see if somebody improves. And what we know is we need 8 to 10 sessions in order to see changes in brain activity. And then if you have more severe problems, you need more sessions to also experience differences. For example, can you go back to the first one where you see the 3 things? Yes. So we train this with neurofeedback, and then we see changes here. Then after a while, we measure, for example, your attention or your memory, and we should see changes here. And if that's the case, then we see changes in behavior. You just feel better as a child, you can function better in school, or as a student, you're less stressed, or you have increased alertness during the test. And this means that these 3 components relate to each other. This is very fast response, this is a little bit slower, and this is the one quality of life. So this also comes into a report. We can have a report, we can show you later, we set it up, of the reaction times and how they change over time. And then we have quality of life. You can also show it later if you want. We have a live visualization of your quality of life before and after the treatment. Because in the end, this is why we do it, right? We can tell someone, hey, your waves really, really improve, but if they don't experience it, it makes no sense. So these are the 3 domains in your report. Sometimes it's very short, sometimes it's multiple pages, depending on what we saw. Does that answer your question? Yes, could you click? Oh, yeah, that's very important. We developed a so-called treatment index. And that's an index where you, for example, if I say I want to increase the level of a certain brainwave, I would suppose that during a 20-30 minute session that the level increases a little bit every time, like what we just saw. That means the difference between the entry level of the brainwave and the best ground that you do with neurofeedback We call it the treatment index. So the higher the bar graph is, the more treatment effect. It's more of an effect of the condition. That's something we developed because it was not out there yet. So every treatment, even if they're doing it at home, you as a therapist, we as a therapist can monitor and watch the patients and see what the effect is. So if they're very low and they stay low for a long time, we call the patient, come back to the clinic, or we change the treatment protocol. We see low levels, for example, if somebody has a flu or is sick and still tries to train and we don't see a training. So it's all about having as much impact as possible with your training. And one further. Oh, here you see the yes. This one we have now interactive in our software. So if a patient can at home, they can do the validated quality of life questionnaire, and you see in the dashboard, we see whether it improves. There are actually two bars here. So we can see in what aspect of the quality of life we see improvements. This is, by the way, this is a summary of a study we did with stroke patients. The next one. Yes, here's a report with yellow. This is a general report. First of all, we're not allowed to show patient data because of privacy regulation, but also the yellow ones are variables, and we're happy to show you in more detail. Variables where we put in different things for a certain patient. And it always needs to contain text. So we summarize the outcomes that you see in text. This patient came in, had very low quality of life because high stress levels. Then we measured brain. We saw increased levels of brain activity in a resting situation. We saw decreased level of alertness, for example, with high stress and difficulties with alertness or attention, and so quality of life. So we did the treatment, and afterwards we saw less experienced stress levels, brain activity, more or less normalized, and so forth. So this is a typical report. So we have a report at the beginning, and you have one at the end, and then it's a very long treatment program. We have one in the middle. So we have multiple reports. And I think, can you press? Yes. I'm seeing
Any other question?
So the changes in symptoms and quality of life
yes.
report is using EEG or actually a paper and pencil test this skill.
So we use the EEG and neurofeedback for determining whether we're going to train, and it's training effective on the physiological level. But in the end, we need an alertness test and questionnaires to see the effects of behavior, of course. And these are the tests that you know from psychology. These are all, we don't develop them ourselves, we just use the general tests out there. For example, cognitive speed, double tasks, memory, all these things.
Then you combine also with what the clients tell us, use some that we can combine with the requirements.
And what we teach people in our courses is it has to correlate. So if you see very slow brain activity and somebody is fatigued, then we see that there's a correlation. That's what it is to be expected. And if somebody has problems and we don't see that brain activity or we see very strange results, we're not going to even start with neurofeedback. They need to be measured. Same as if you only give blood pressure lowering medication if your blood pressure is too high. So this is the same thing. If the brain activity is perfectly fine, and we can't start with neurofeedback. That's why we always need pre-measurement.
Excuse me, how effective this device is to treat the people who are suffering from the depression, mental problems, and also slow learners?
The last one I didn't get.
I say, whether this machine or this method, this technique, is it suitable to treat those patients who are slow learners or suffering from the mental problems
Yes.
or depression?
This is actually a multi-day course that asking. It's you have different publications for different domains. But first of all, this is always the first or very fundamental thing to train. Most patients with depression always need typical cognitive therapy or other therapies or even medication. What you see with ADHD, they first start with medication in Europe, then they get neurofeedback, then they get side effects because it adds up, and then they decrease the medication and the neurofeedback continues. There's one benefit from neurofeedback that is now being published. If you stop medication, the effects go down. properly. If you stop neurofeedback, the effects continue a little bit. So if you have multiple sessions and you stop it and you keep on measuring the patients, you see that the effects continue a little bit over weeks. You don't know why. It seems to be the case. So the answer is very complicated depending on the diseases. There's not a lot of research on. There is some coming up on anxiety, depression, and depression and anxiety is very dependent on the type of depression, type of anxiety, the level of therapy they got. So they are mixed results. The best result is for general attention, alertness, problems, things like that. And you're also not going to treat the depression. You're going to treat the alertness level of depression. Because you're not measuring the depression in the brain, you're measuring a correlate to depression, you're measuring general activity, general arousal, and that's what you're going to train with you. So if that improves, then patients experience less problems, and they still need most of the time cognitive therapy.
I'd like to ask for just on the NDL, it is mainly to focus on I'm not sure whether I understand the right thing. You said screening is to know to check whether that person got a sleep problem, to treat a sleep problem and also alertness. And then if let's say those learners are not suitable for the neurofeedback.
Slow learners, now I understand. Sorry, I didn't hear it. Yes. And these are also multiple questions. First of all, I think the main purpose now and also in the future is not only to measure and train patients here with the assist psychologists and therapists with their patients. So the patients come in and we can measure, give a report back to the psychologist to give a certain direction treatment. And we can also offer them the neurofeedback treatment as a prerequisite for the blended therapy.
Feedback treatment in my study with different patients, or we only have one type of neurofeedback, which is in general.
No, it's personalized. It's always personalized, yes. Because the training you just saw would not be suitable for every patient. For example, after stroke, in chronic stroke patients, you see in one part of the brain, you see underactivity, in other parts, you see overactivity. If you have an anxiety problem, you see overactivity in the brain. In some depressions, you see inhibition problems. So the dependent the brain physiology determines the type of neurofeedback.
Patient will heart disease affect patients, and then do you have any benefits for the neurofeedback to those heart disease patients?
We don't know. I mean, heart disease does affect the brain, of course, and brain activity, but then there are no big studies on that. Because they always get treated, the heart gets treated, not the brain. So it will come in the future, but we don't have any data on that yet. But it's definitely treated as general fatigue after heart disease, or general fatigue after oncological surgery, or so you measure the fatigue as the general underactivity of your brain, then we train the brain to get more active, independently of what disease.
If the patients come with very excited emotion, sometimes they are very excited, sometimes they are very moody, and before I know, like if they are very excited, right, then the neurons will fire a lot, then maybe the data come up will not be so consistent all the time. How we can make sure that data comes out does not affect by the patient?
It's all everything you do is affected by the emotions all the time. So if you measure patients, you measure a mix of background brain activity over weeks or months and the current state at that day. So when one maybe talk about it, if someone is really anxious at the day of the measurement, will be very stressed out because of an example, somebody passed away. And sometimes it's difficult to do it neurofeedback treatment because you start at a different level. So what are the you have a pre-measurement where we determine where we're going to train and what kind of brain rate we're going to train. But the level, what Dr. Salisa showed, so your threshold level where you start off with. So the difficulty in training depends on the day that the patient goes in. Every day they have a different threshold, different level of complexity in training based on how they feel or how the brain is doing it.
It means that service someone they will measurement something.
Yes. It's a 1 minute calibration measure. So in the morning, for example, the neurofeedback for you will be slightly different than in the afternoon.
Not the pre-measurement. We're talking about the pre-measurement.
So the pre-measurement is always the same, but the small calibration measurement of 1 minute
Before the neurofeedback.
before the neurofeedback. Yes, it's like a child goes to soccer training. They have the training is set for the day. They know what going to train. If then the trainer assess how well they're doing, if they're fatigued, the training is a little bit milder. And that's what we do with neurofeedback. And you reassess the daily state of the brain. So the parameters are still the same, but the level of difficulty can adapt to the level of greatness.
And one last question, I was a bit curious, like if let's say somebody want to become marketer, is the treatment able to explore the brain? Like in human brain, we less than 1%.
Okay.
That we brain or brain.
Okay, first of all, that's in the top 10 of the myth in psychology neurology. You always use 1% of the brain. Always. If you don't use something, the neurons die off. You're always using your brain. And I have no idea where that came from, but it has been around for a long time. And if you do neurofeedback or if you take certain medications, you can change your IQ. But it's very probable that that is because of your increased alertness. So you increase information processing capacity, which is a big influence for IQ tests. We know from ADHD studies in Europe. And the same child can have differences in 15 IQ points sometimes if you measure them with high or low alertness. So IQ is very dependent on the level of information processing. While you that's why you look back and influence IQ. But there are no big studies of that. But you're always using the entirety of your brain. So yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting that I remember somewhere in China, they were using neurofeedback and increase IQ.
Yes, but it's always goes for attention and then yeah.
Any other question or suggestion? No?
I have some.
No, thank you, Mr. Yon.
Yes. So
Thank you everyone for your questions, for interesting discussions. And it's good to know that there is a person of my brain.
Yes.
So maybe more effective or better for that relation. At first, this morning, as I said, whoever has raised up, we have a surprise for you. So I would like to ask for help to come forward and also the first part. Okay, so Dr. Harimat will come forward and we are going to have a lucky draw session. So yes, this is going to be the most interesting part of this day. First, please, Luana, Mr. Bjorn, from Bhutan.
Oh, that was looking for
Okay, so go. Because
let's go.
the draw winner is going to be one.
it's all yours. One.
Okay, this second winner. The second, our second winner is going to be.
Sebelah haji.
Congratulations. Thank you. Up next.
Matematika. Matematika. No. No. Yes, Maharani. Kami dengan Maharani hari itu benar. Jadi itu jadi suara dia pasti gak bukan, tapi dia tak ada.
Kau ingat tak?
Last one. Is our
Dia rasa senang.
Yes, for the pension.
It's a golden achievement.
Thank you everyone for joining. It will be open for the session. Whoever at the back can please come forward for the participation.
Alright. Okay, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Freestyle. Thumbs up. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Okay. Love. Alright.
We are open holidays, so you can come. Any question or if you have any suggestion, you can ask me. And refreshment is also served, so please collect your refreshments. Thank you so very much. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you. Yeah. What time are we completing? Good.
Thank you.
Tak tu. Lepas habis open list, lepas habis launching kan, YouTube dah tutup. Ada? Ada? Hujung-hujung lah maksudnya.
Tak ada, tadi waktu tu media pun dia kata media sebab betul sebenarnya dia tanya kenapa.
YouTube dah tanya.
Tapi
Tunjuk.
bila Ain tunjuk dia nampak tau.
Ni dah ada.
Ni. Oh dah habis kot.
Ni dah habis lah.
Okay.